Hey everybody, this is Sheea Shafer here from Maui, your love, relationship, and Tantra coach. And thank you for those of you who have donated to my channels. It's always such a treat to have that appreciation coming in, especially because my intention is to be able to teach more and share more so that the world can benefit from this knowledge, which is otherwise very mystery school-like, and it's not like there's a practitioner like me in every town, because I don't know why, we're kind of rare. But learning Tantra there's a lot that goes into it, and not everybody's rigged for that. But I'm happy to be the messenger. So I'm glad you're able to access me here in Hawaii through YouTube and through the phone, and the phone sessions that I do. So anyway, today we're going to talk about something kind of fun, because what happened was I was in what we call a double circle yesterday. It's a women's group that's here on Maui that was created where one circle is the elders and one circle is what they call the youngins, and I'm in the youngins group, the younger ones. And we take turns sharing about a particular theme or topic and listen to each other, because there's can be quite a difference in the responses based on what age we are. And when they chose the theme of pleasure yesterday, and it was just really fascinating, I really appreciated the awareness of how much pleasure is in our lives in so many forms that we may not be recognizing. And it was kind of uplifting to realize how many things we enjoy that bring us pleasure from different aspects of life. So, most people, when they think of pleasure, they think of sexuality, and of course there's pleasure there, in the physical sense, but there's also pleasure in intellectually and spiritually and, verbally, that we hear things that bring us pleasure, like music and creative expression and food and, all these different forms that it can come in. And so I wanted to bring that same awareness to you, that you actually have more pleasure in your life than you may be acknowledging. So it kind of came in some interesting forms that I'd like to highlight, which is a couple people mentioned how much pleasure they get from their alone time and having that downtime. And to me, the way that translated, I was like, yeah, for me, how I would word that is, I get a lot of pleasure from, I do feel like my downtime and my alone time is yummy time, because I'm in my home and I'm, nurturing myself or doing self-care or whatever during those times. But it also translates to the an even more impactful concept, which is I get a lot of pleasure from being a sovereign, independent woman who's an entrepreneur. And it's not an easy thing to pull off sometimes in these modern times. I feel like I've had to be a man and it takes a lot to run a business and be successful. And there's so many hats that one wears, from marketing to human resources to the skill sets you bring to the table, the quality of service, gosh, it just goes on and on. Having a website and, social media and, of course, skills around intimacy, which is in my field, requires being able to help one feel totally safe and comfortable, and holding a really strong container for people to have deep healing. And education is a big part of what I do too. So I really want to highlight the fact that all of us that fall in that bracket, that brings a certain amount of pleasure, because I think, for me at least, I feel like I was able to rise above the ceiling, the glass ceiling that a lot of people feel, where it's like, gosh, I want more, I'm ready for more, and I feel like I'm kind of stuck, maybe because of your educational level, or, it could be any number of things. But I remember feeling that, and that's partly why I got my master's, so I wouldn't be as limited. And I do get a lot of pleasure as a woman feeling like I kind of beat the system almost a little bit, because I've been able to pull off being a one-woman show for years in a successful business that's not easily replicatable because of all that I bring to the table and having done this in past lives. And, being able to live, having the pleasure and the luxury of living by myself, without having to have roommates, and I also, on top of this, don't have family backup support, to catch me when I fall. That doesn't exist, so I have to pull it off myself or I'm on the street. So anyway, I really appreciated that being brought up yesterday as a point of pleasure, because it is a point of pride and pleasure to be able to successfully pull that off, and I've been able to help other women by training them pull that off too. And so, then there's the pleasure of like food, something as basic as that, or having a yummy bed to sleep in at night, or having beautiful clothes to wear. And like for me, creative expression is a big part of my life, as is spirituality. So I get a lot of pleasure from that. Many of you are, if you're connected with me on Facebook, I used to post so many photos of me in costume or bikinis or whatever, just capturing an aspect of the goddess that day, because sometimes, especially with costumes, it captures a different archetype of the divine feminine that I was expressing that day, and I find that really fun and fascinating. So that was a fun creative outlet for me that I wanted to just capture and share, because why not? It's kind of like a hobby. And anything that has creative outlet, like I'm trained in Feng Shui as well, so I really enjoy Feng Shuiing. I love decorating, I love fashion and beauty and anything creative. I do a lot of dream boards to manifest what I want in my life, and that's a creative outlet. I also get a lot of pleasure from spirituality because I grow so much, and whether it's meditation or spiritual reading, I'm constantly being inspired by spirit and how much spirit is showing up for me, especially right now in my life, in such tangible ways that I can observe and really feel like the spirit has my back and is really there for me, and is sort of orchestrating my life by giving me enough support to pull off what I'm doing, which is a lot right now because I'm doing a huge move to the other side of town. I'm relaunching my businesses, and coming out of a kind of a tragic 2-year relationship that took a lot out of me and left me financially with a lot less. My credit got ruined in the process, and that was sort of my backup. And he also deleted all my clients, so it's just been a lot to handle. But at any rate, I do get a lot of pleasure from my spiritual practices, and I wanted to share, this is what I'm reading right now. It's the Sophia Code, and oh my God, this is an amazing book. I feel so honored to have entered into the doors of the divine feminine, channeling through this book among other books that I read recently, because I've mentioned Anna, Grandmother of Jesus book, and Anna, Voice of the Magdalene's book, and they're both very powerful as well. The original one I read was I Remember Union, which is a Mary Magdalene channeled book of her story. And anyway, Sophia Code is by Kaya Ra, and who's living today, and she has an amazing story of healing from and surviving having been a sex slave, in that sex trade industry. Whew. And anyway, she has amazing psychic abilities to channel, and that book goes through, I think, 8 or 9 like goddesses, and channeling each of those goddesses, like for instance Kuan Yin, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, White Buffalo Woman, Sophia, the Divine Feminine Creatrix Original Woman that, Mother God. And what are some of the other ones? Hathor, and some of the ones I wasn't as familiar with. But anyway, there's initiations in there that are really powerful, like I am statements and affirmations that you walk through and speak. And they're so powerful that I have to kind of assimilate them, and digest them before I go on to the next one. That's how powerful they are. And it's such a nurturing, amazing experience just to have the Divine Feminine speak to my heart and mentor me, and I feel their presence. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent on my spiritual pleasure. But anyway, that was an example. Let's see, what else came up as pleasurable? Oh yes, so when it was my turn, we only had 2.5 minutes to share yesterday, so that's kind of not very much time to share, some memories or experiences that were the most highly pleasurable in our life. But I did mention some recent experiences that I feel so honored to have gotten to have, which is I got a lot of pleasure from, an acquaintance of mine who, well, there's been several acquaintances of mine who have really showed up for me during this move, because